All right. I think it's live. Guys, if you can hear me, just give me a shout out in the comments that you're able to listen to me. You can watch my video as well. Hey, Darren, what's up? Good to see you here, man. Hey, I, I actually see my father here. Hi, Dad. How are you doing? Good. Hey, Dennis. Good to see you here. All right, guys. I just want you to give a quick intro about where are you from. Just give me a shout out in the comments that where are you joining from in the world. And thank you so much for kind of taking out time on a weekend and joining in. So, thanks. Just give me out. Just give me a shout out in the comments. I'd love to hear where are you from. Thanks, Darren. Just give me a little comment in the comment box. I'd love to hear where are you from. Hey Nuno, good to have you here from Portugal. What time is it there? Uh, hey Dipankar, good to have you here. Hey Praveen, good to have you. Good to have people from Israel as well. I'm happy. From Germany, Seoul, good to have you here, man. Hey Aditya, what's up? Welcome. Ronak, welcome. Sandeep, good to have you here, man. Nuno, hi, what's up? Hey Shivangi, good to have you here. All right, guys, as you come in, why don't you just maybe pop it in the comment box? Where are you from? And of course, I'd love to hear in case you have been working with Power BI already. How long has it been that you've been working with Power BI? Hey, David, good to have you. So I'll probably just maybe start in about 2 to 4 minutes. Still time about 2 odd minutes, so I'll just probably start in about 2 minutes. Hey Vijit, good to have you. I'm finally calling you Vijit. All right. For those of you who are new and probably coming here for the first time and you do not know who I am and the work that I do, so first of all, thank you so much for coming on to the webinar, and maybe you're interested in to learn about Power BI visualizations, and that's what I'm going to talk about. But a little bit about me. My name is of course Chandeep Chabra, and I stay in Gurgaon, which is near to the capital region of India. It's near Delhi, if you have heard of that. And I actually started out in the financial services industry in Mumbai. I was working for a boutique investment bank, and I kind of left my job in 2013, and then I kind of started just to teach people how do you work effectively on spreadsheets, because my work was a lot of spreadsheet work and number crunching work, and I just probably learned that skill a little better than the others, and thought I'll just kind of share that with the other people. And that's how I kind of started with Goodly. If you are curious about the name Goodly, it's actually my father's creation, who's also somewhere there in the people who have joined in. So you should actually thank him for that. I lent the name from him. I started out, and my focus was a lot of financial Excel and teaching finance people a lot of Excel and kind of stuff. But then I kind of deviated from that and kind of elevated in myself and started learning how do people use Excel in operations and other stuff. And I kind of then moved on to learning Power BI. I think about in 2015, that's when I first laid my hands on the power tools of Excel. That's when I picked up Power Query and DAX. It was a pretty tough time actually learning DAX. When I started with DAX, it was really really difficult, and I think in 2015 there was not a lot of resources out there, not a lot of blogs out there, not a lot of good material out there that can actually teach you DAX really well. So I kind of struggled a lot. I actually remember that waking up nights because I was just making a small mistake in a comma problem. It was just terrible. So it's better that I don't recall those days. But yeah, so I kind of worked my way up from there. And since now my work is a lot of training and consulting to companies, I travel a lot everywhere in India. Not now as of now, but yeah, although I do travel a lot. And I do these workshops, live workshops for companies, and do consulting assignments for Power BI, a company-wide implementation of Power BI, where I kind of write a lot of DAX for them, create dashboards, create reports, and that's what I do. And side by side, I obviously run this blog, which is goodly.co.in, and that's how you got to know about me, maybe. And that's where I write about everything that I know about Power BI, interesting stuff that you can probably follow along, and formulas and a whole lot of interesting stuff about Power BI, solutions to different problems and things like that. So yeah, that's a little thing about me. Of late, a lot of people have started asking me that, hey, what should I do? I'm kind of on the verge of losing my job. And I cannot say about a lot of people, but especially for the people in the data industry and people analyzing numbers, I will just say that one thing that has stayed with me always is, sort of the I can say that my interest to kind of rack up skills repeatedly, one after the other, and that's what I will recommend you strongly. So I'm not too sure about what's going to happen in the future, but if you're worried, a lot of people have been asking me, emailing me, people that I don't know about as well, and I just want to give like a general thing that just don't worry and just keep skilling yourself, and when things will be okay and thus settle down, actually you're going to do absolutely fine. So just keep skilling yourself. All right. Hey Raj, what's up? Good to have you here. All right. I think we have a lot of people, about 50 odd people. I'm glad so many people could make it, and thanks once again for coming up here on the webinar. And let's just kind of begin. I'm just gonna actually start my screen. All right, so let's just do that, and let me know if you're able to take a look at my screen. And guys, one very very important thing, I'd want you to download the files that we will be working on. There's a link underneath the video, so just go to that link and it'll lead you to a place where you can download all the files that we'll be working on. There's just one Power BI file and you can download that. This is actually a completed Power BI file, so you can just enjoy this and maybe follow along once I'm doing things on the screen. All right, now when we kind of talk about visualizations in Power BI, my first advice to everybody is to stop thinking about visuals when you're asked to make a report. That's what you should do at the start of it. At the start of creating any report in Power BI, what you should first think about is how do I do very very smart and intelligent calculation that will add a lot of meaning to the report. If you first start thinking about visualizations, then you kind of get caught in some questions that will actually you should handle them later, which are questions like what color should I use, what chart should I use, should I buy the visual or not, and all that kind of stuff. Now you will add a lot of good value to your visualizations if you are able to write good DAX. And if you're able to write DAX, your dashboard will be full of metrics and analysis that other people cannot do, or they are hard to do. So I will rather give you a very counterintuitive advice to focus your attention at the start of that kind of report creation on building very intelligent calculations, like things that your management wants but maybe they haven't been calculated as of yet. because maybe the data was too heavy, or they were just doing it in Excel, and Excel doesn't really have that kind of sophistication. Or even if you have done that in Excel, maybe it's too clumsy and there are a lot of hidden workings around that the person who's made it, he can only understand it. So I would rather give that advice to you, that please focus on bringing a lot of intelligence into your calculations using DAX, rather than actually focusing on the visuals. And believe it or not, for all the templates and the visualizations and the graphs and the charts and the consulting assignments that I have done so far, I have just used the standard visuals which are actually there in the visualization library. I have never actually bought any visual for, and probably barring one or two times where the need was very specific, I've never even recommended that you actually go ahead and buy visual. These are good enough visuals. There are actually some good visuals around, but yeah, I mean, you can actually do some pretty decent job with these visuals as well. All right, now let's begin. And I am going to do a very, very simple kind of suggestion to everybody, is that I'm just going to open up, let's say, a dashboard. This is one of the dashboards that I recently created. It's on coronavirus, tracking coronavirus in India. I cannot refresh this every single day, so you get the updated numbers. It's there on my blog in case you want to download that. You can even get the Power BI file. It has some projections and some nice little stuff right here. So the trick is, let's say, for example, you are maybe working on a dashboard either into your Power BI file, or maybe you're working on the dashboard, maybe on the web, you're taking a look at the dashboard, and maybe, you know what, you want to take a look at the actual numbers. So if you take a look at the projections chart here, I do get to see these lines and the projections, but maybe if I hover the mouse is then when I actually get to see the numbers. I don't get to see all the numbers at once. So what you can do is you can actually select the visual. So let me just kind of select the visual here. Just kind of working slow. 1 second. So let's just say that all right, so I'll just maybe show it to you here. So it's not actually showing up the selection for some reason on the screen. So let's just say that I end up selecting this visual, which is a line chart, and the line chart has also got some projections here that how the cases are going to grow. So I select this particular visual and I use the shortcut Alt Shift F11, and what this is going to do is any visual of Power BI, it's going to actually convert that into a table structure, and you can actually end up seeing the exact numbers as to what these numbers are with the labels and stuff, and you can actually go back to the report. Now this little trick actually works in Power BI, which is, you know, the web version of it. I have not actually opened Power BI. This is a web published report, and it actually works in Power BI desktop. So maybe someone shares a report, you want to make it more explicit, you actually want to read the numbers, what the numbers are. It's a fantastic way to kind of unclutter the chart. The chart is too small, maybe you just want to take a look at that. So even if I actually click on the map here and do Alt Shift F11, the entire map is going to be converted into a table structure, and you can actually take a look. I'm not sure what's happening here, but it actually does. So maybe I selected the thing here, so let's just try that again. So I do it here, Alt Shift F11. Yep, so it works. So you can see that the map actually converts here into a table, and this is actually great. All right, that was easy, and maybe I just kind of start with other interesting tips, and now we kind of hop over to Power BI, the file that I have for you here. Recently, I think 1 or 2 editions ago, Microsoft launched they gave an update into Power BI, and they said that, hey, now you can actually redo your titles of the chart, and you can make them dynamic, right? So let me just kind of make one chart and show it to you what do I mean. So here I have a very simple data model. If I just show it to you here, we have a sales table here, simple standard sales table, nothing too complicated. We have here a transaction ID column. That means one single row of the sales table means one single transaction. And we have a products table here, and obviously the product code here is linked to the sales table product ID right here, which is right here. And obviously we have a standard date table, which I actually like to call it as a calendar table, and that's pretty standard, a couple of columns here. And that's how my data model looks as of now. So you can see that we have products, we have calendar, and we have sales right here. So they are connected like that. And I'm gonna make a very simple chart right here. So I go to the fields here, and I just drop in the category right here, and I have already written a very simple measure for total sales. Maybe I can just show it to you that. So right here I have total sales measure, which is actually nothing but very simple. That's actually the VLOOKUP of the price, and I multiply the price with the units, and then I sum it all up. That's my total sales measure, and I actually drag that total sales measure into my visualization here, and this is as of now a table which I would like to have it as a chart, and I convert that as a chart. Now you can see that when I make a chart, it gives a pretty standard title right here. It actually delivers the title as total sales by category. And you know what, maybe I want a dynamic title. In the title itself, I'd like to highlight the maximum category that I have. So as of now, if you take a look at this title, which is actually the title that I've already worked on, here the title is mid-segment topped with $850 this sale. So if you kind of hover your mouse on mid-segment product, you will see that mid-segment is actually $850. And the title is actually going to change. So if I maybe just hop over to the month of August and take a look at that, you will see that the title just changed and says mid-segment again topped with 401 kind of value in sales. If I kind of hover the mouse on top of that, you can see that mid-segment is again 401. So how do you actually kind of build a dynamic title that kind of changes with the slicers and other things that you have in the Power BI report? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use conditional formatting, and maybe I'll just write a measure. I already have written one measure right here, which is this, and maybe I'll just kind of write it from the scratch so you can just carry it along. All right, so let's just understand. So what I'm trying to do here is, first of all, I'm trying to get the name of the best selling category. So let me first try to get the name of the category, right? So I'm just going to create a new measure, and let's just call this measure as dynamic title. All right, and I'm going to call the function called concatenate x. And if you take a look at the concatenate x function, it asks you for a name of the tables. Hey, which table would you like to call the category from? And obviously the category of the product. Category simply means, is it a premium product? Is it a mid-segment product? Is it a low-segment product? So that category is actually there in the products table. And the expression here is going to be the product category. And I kind of close the bracket, press enter. And concatenate x will actually go to the products table. Let me just show it to you. So it will actually go to this products table, and in the products table, if you take a look, we have categories. So we have a giveaway, we have a low end, we have a mid segment, we have a premium. It'll kind of combine all these categories together, right? So that's what it'll do as of now. So we are still kind of working with the measure here. So I just maybe drag that measure right here, and I obviously have to convert that into a kind of a card here so that you can see it. And you can see that giveaways concatenated with low end, concatenated with mid segment, and again the concatenation is happening. And since the category of multiple products can be repeated, and so you have kind of repetitions here, and I don't want to have the repetitions. So what I will do is, actually I'll come back to my measure, and in my measure I'm going to say, hey, rather than actually repeating the category, why don't you kind of make the categories unique? So I'll add the values function around the category. What the values function is going to do is it's going to go to the category column, remove the duplicates, and just have unique categories. So now we have unique categories only, and that is going to be combined in the concatenate x. Let's just take a look at the result. So we have now unique categories. So we have giveaway, we have a low end, and we have a mid segment and a premium product. All of these are kind of stuck to one another, So maybe I'd like to kind of use the other input, which is a delimiter right here. It means that how would you like to separate one concatenation from the other, and maybe I'd like to use the and here. So and like one category and the other category, and I press enter, and you can see that it's going to kind of put a space before and the after, and it's going to have the and. All right, now I'm getting the names of all categories, but hey, I don't need the names of all categories. I need the names of one category, which is actually the top selling category. So here's what I'm going to do. This calculation should actually work for only one top selling category. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the calculate function. The first part of the calculate is obviously what would you like to calculate. So I would like to calculate this thing, but this thing is as of now being calculated for the entire table, and I don't really want to have that. I just want this calculation to happen for only one category. So I'm just going to maybe write top end function here. The top end function, there is an n value here, so I just want one n value. The table is again going to be the products table, and in the products table I just want the actually we just have to write the values function here. So values, and I just want the category right here, close the bracket, and the order by expression is going to be total sales. All right, let me just explain that to you. What did I just do? So the top end function actually accepts 2-3 inputs. The first part of top end is how many top rows do you want? Do you want one row? Do you want 2 rows? Do you want 3 rows? Since I'm looking at just one top category of the product, I will just say that I will just want one row. The next part of the top end function is that you want one row from which table? I don't want one row from the entire products table. I actually want one row from just one column of the products table, which is the category column, and that too after removing duplicates. Hence I write the values function. And then just don't give me any top row, just give me the top row in the order of total sales. So the order by expression, the way in which it will order the top row is going to be total sales expression. That's what I do. This is going to give me top one row, and in case there is a clash or there's a tie between two products or two categories which are actually having the same sales, it's actually going to give you 2 rows. And in that case, you will land up with 2 rows, and you will end up having 2 values concatenated, which is actually the good thing, that's what we want. So I'm going to press enter, drag it down, and let's just see what happens. And you can see that now, if I just kind of zoom out a bit, I get to see only one category, which is actually mid segment. That's good. Now I also want this label to be more explanatory, like mid segment. My title of the chart cannot just be mid segment. It has to be like mid segment topped with X dollar of sales. So that's a little labeling is required. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to come to this measure, and maybe right here I'm just going to come here and say that I'm still willing to do the calculation for only one row, and this is the calculation which actually gives me the label. This is good enough, but along with the label I want to write some other stuff. So I'm going to say mid segment, and I'm going to obviously write the ampersand, which is the concatenation symbol, topped with, and then I will say again ampersand, and then I will write the total sales measure. So whatever total sales you have, right? So that's what I will write. So that's it. And maybe I can also format the total sales, that I control the way it looks on the screen, and I'll say that, hey, why don't you maybe apply a $sign to the total sales, and also maybe a little comma is going to be good. So that's the little format function. So format whatever value total sales returns, and then you add $, and also apply commas just in case you have any. All right, so that's what I write. Hopefully it should work. So let's just press enter. Let's just see what happens here. So mid segment topped with 401, and now once I have generated this kind of text field, now this text field is going to go sit inside the title of the chart. So I'm just going to click on the chart right here, go to the visualizations here, and in the visualizations I'll kind of hop over to the title right here, and in the title, which is currently on, you can see there's a little FX button here. Now this FX, wherever you see in Power BI, it clearly signifies that this is conditionally formattable. I mean, you can actually use conditional formatting and measures of DAX to be able to format this in a custom way. So I'm just, rather than writing the standard title right here, I'm just going to actually use the FX button right here, and it says, hey, field value. The field value is actually we have calculated the field value, and I'm just going to write the dynamic title measure here, right here, and I'm going to say okay. Now one very, very critical thing. Let's say, for example, most people are going to get stuck here. The measure that you write in order to generate the dynamic title needs to deliver you a text value. If it delivers you a number, it's not going to be valid here. So let's just say that total sales, which is actually a measure, delivers me a number. That means the output of that is a numeric format. And if I try to select a number here, so if I just say total sales here, you can see that it will not really allow me to select that. So it actually needs to deliver you a text to be able to select that. So that's a little catch here. You need to be careful about that. Okay, so I'm just going to write dynamic title right here and say okay. And now you can see that the same title appears right here. Maybe I can just minimize the screen, and that's what you get to see here. Now when you kind of change that to July or to any other month, it's just going to be dynamic. Now there is a catch to this trick. Okay, I found it later. I'm still not sure how to solve that, but I'll kind of let you know just to be sure as to you are aware of that. Okay, so watch. As of now, so maybe just get some space here. Okay. All right, so I am just going to make another visualization real quick. Maybe another kind of a bar chart, and maybe just put something else. Let's just say order type in my axis, and let's just put total sales against that. And you can see that we have two different types of orders that we get. We get a no support order and we get priority orders. Now let's just say that along with these slicers, we also have another visual. And obviously you understand that once you kind of click on the visual, everything cross filters. So once I click on the visual, you will see that the mid segment here is actually not 943, it's actually 861. And the title still doesn't change. So I'm not sure why does it happen, because that's the measure that we created, and if the value is changing in the measure, it should actually also change it in the chart title, but it doesn't change. That means any kind of cross filters coming from any other visualizations that you might have on the screen, they will not actually filter it by the cross like the cross highlighting or the cross filtering, but they will definitely respect the filter. So whether you have a drop down filter or like a chiclet style filter, whatever filter you have, it will accept that, but it will not kind of accept any cross filtering from the visualizations. You can see that the title here is working fine. It's actually 347. If I kind of hover my mouse on top of that, that's the value that I see against highlighted. You can see 347, but it doesn't really reflect that in the chart. It's still the full bar value. Not really sure. I'll have to figure it out. So in case somebody knows that in the comments, maybe you can just help us all here. All right. So just be wary of that. Maybe you can kind of write that somewhere in the title as to explain your users that this will not get cross filtered as you filter your charts and stuff. All right, let's move on. This one is superb and amazing. All right. So let me just kind of make a chart. So let's just copy this chart, the one that I have already made. So Control C on that and come here and Control V. All right. If you have been using Power BI for a while now, and if you don't know what tooltips are, you are absolutely missing out on a very, very big thing. I mean, visualization here. So it's kind of very subtle, but gives you a lot of value that you can actually provide to the user who's actually reading the visualization. So if I just kind of hover my mouse on top of that, you can see that there's a little black box that appears that actually gives me the same value, which is 1559, which is actually the value right here. Now this is cool enough, but what you can do is you can actually also expand these tooltips and you can add more things here. I generally tend to do that. So maybe first, for everybody who doesn't know about tooltips, maybe I can just cover that real quick. So let's just say that from my sales, I will also find out total units. Total units is nothing but the sum of units column in the sales table, really simple measure. And that I am going to add that in my tooltips. So I select the visual, I carry the total units right here, and I carry that to the tooltips right here. Now, along with total sales, I also will get to see that how much units have you sold in the mid segment category, and you can have now two things shown here. So a lot of these kind of what if questions, what if somebody asks me that, or what if somebody asks me that, which is kind of related to the topic that you're already showing in your dashboard, you can actually put all of them together in a tooltip, and it's kind of brilliant. Now these tooltips are believed to be not customizable, but they are absolutely customizable. You can customize these tooltips in any way that you kind of like. All right, so as of now, this tooltip, when I hover the mouse on the top of the chart, it actually gives me a black box on which there are numbers written on top of that. But hey, I don't want that. I will design my own tooltip and the way that it should look like on the screen. So let's just do that. The first thing that you need is you need a separate sheet where you will design your own tooltip. So pay attention here. So I'm just going to maybe add another sheet here, which is actually page 1. I'm just going to double click here and call this as my tooltip. All right, that's the name that I give. The name doesn't matter actually. You can give any name. Okay, once you have created the page as my tooltip, you go to the visualizations pane here, and in the visualizations pane, make sure that nothing is on the screen, and you go to the format tab. Once you go to the format tab and nothing is on the screen, you're actually formatting the page itself. All right, so this entire page. So I'm just going to go to the page information, and I will make this entire page as a tooltip. So I will turn on the tooltip. That's my first thing. The second thing that I do is I go to the page size, and I say, rather than having a 16 by 9, which is a pretty large size, I would want to have this small, like a small tooltip that appears. So I will say that the type is going to be a tooltip. All right, so this becomes small, and this is still not small because this is kind of expanded to the full scale of the page. What the other thing that I have to do is I have to come to the view tab, and then I have to go page view, and then I have to click on actual size, and this becomes really, really small. Now the thing is that I'm kind of still not using the new layout of Power BI. In case you have recently installed Power BI and you have updated your Power BI, you will find that the layout of Power BI has changed, and the things that I am doing somewhere in the view tab might be at different places in your Power BI window, so just find that. Although I have updated my Power BI, but I have not updated the new view because I like to use this quick access toolbar that I'm very, very fond of, and I don't want it to go away. So, all right. Once you have created this little tooltip page, now we start designing it. We start putting things that I'd like to see. So maybe from the fields, I'll go here, and in the sales table, I have a channel, right? So that's the channel that I have. So we have 3 channels of sales. We sell it through affiliates, we sell it through organic medium. People just come and buy from us, and we sell it through promotions, right? So 3 channels we have. And against the 3 channels, I'd like to input total sales. So these are my measures. And you know what? I would like to convert that into a bar chart. All right, so I make a bar chart, and maybe I also want to have data labels on top of that, so I get to see the labels. I don't want to have these 23,000K and stuff like that. So I want the denomination to be not thousands or something, none. So I get to see the full value. All right. That is the tooltip that I designed. If you want to clean this up, I suggest that you clean this up. You remove the total sales here, you remove the access here, you do all of that stuff so that the visual is large and people can actually see the visual neat and clean. You just get rid of the title and all that kind of stuff. You can also kind of rename the title. Now I go back to my page here. And you know what? I'm going to attach the tooltip that I just created to this chart. So as of now, I get the standard tooltip. So I'm just going to click on the tooltip. I go to the visualizations. I come to the format. In the format, I go down to the tooltip. Now in the tooltip, you can see that the tooltip is currently on. But hey, here, this should actually be report page, the type. And the page here should actually be my tooltip. That's the tooltip that I just created. So maybe I can just... I just got to know that I have my own picture on the side, so you would not be able to see whatever I'm doing on the corner of the screen. So hang on, sorry about that. So hopefully you'll be able to take a look at now. Okay, so here I click on the visual, I go to the format tab. In the format tab, I have a tooltip right here. In the tooltip, make sure that where is that? The report type is report page, and the page is my tooltip. That's the tooltip that I just created. I'm going to do that. You can see that I've linked that. Now I come back to the entire screen, and now let's just take a look at the visual. Now if I hover my mouse on top of that, I see that in the mid segment, how has the product perform across 3 channels, and this will obviously change, and the tooltip will actually respect any kind of filters that will come in from any other things right here, and it will also respect any kind of cross filters that might just come in. So that is totally cool. All right. So I really love this actually. Maybe I'm just going to show you at a couple of places where I have used this very actively. So right here. So if you just actually take a look at this dashboard that I created, let me just do a full screen here. This was a recruitment dashboard that I created a while ago for recruiters to manage their recruitment process effectively, and this has all the details into it. And now if you kind of take a look at this particular dashboard, if you hover the mouse on top of any particular metric right here, it actually shows you a custom tooltip that what position are you hiring for, what location are you hiring for, who's the recruiter and stuff like that. If you go on to the next page, actually, it actually gives you even more information about the candidate once you hover the mouse on top of that. So you can see that it gives you information about the candidate, where the candidate has sourced from. It even gives you information about the notes that you took while interviewing the candidate. So you can see that we have some interview notes as well. I have also used that at one other place here, which is where I have kind of used some subscriptions. So in case you buy some subscriptions to do some hiring, so it also tells you that your subscription is running from which state to which state. These are all calculations driven from DAX. Then I put them on a tooltip page and then carried forward and linked them to my visual. All right, so that is one thing. All right, now this is actually a table, like a matrix here. So you actually have to turn on the tooltip in a matrix visualization. So let me just show you that real quick. So if I just come back to Power BI, and just in case if you are happening to work with let's say a matrix visualization, which is what we will discuss next, the tooltips are not by default on. So you will have to come here and then go to the visualizations, and right here in the format tab, scroll down, and right here you'll have to first turn on the tooltip and then link it. All right, coming to the next trick. The next trick is about pivot table formatting. So, or maybe any kind of table formatting. A lot of people actually end up creating tabular reports or tabular information, and I think tabular information is fantastic because you get to show a lot of information in just one small table format, and just kind of format the table nicely so that it looks a little pleasing. Otherwise, tabular information is great for giving accurate information and giving loads of information. So maybe I'll just show you a couple of tricks in pivot tables that I have been asked a lot. So let's just say that first of all, if you want to create a pivot table like layout in Power BI, you do not pick up a table, you actually pick up a matrix visualization, which is sort of the pivot table for Power BI. So I'm just going to click on the matrix visualization, and you get to see rows, columns, and values, the same things that you actually see it in a pivot table in Excel. So I'm just going to go to the fields here. And I'll maybe go to the total sales right here and drag that right here, and maybe I'll also add my year from the calendar, and I will also add, let's say, the category from the products table. So category added right here. All right, now this is actually a pivot table, and maybe I just don't want to have the categories on the columns. I would like to have it on the rows, so I have it on the rows. All right, now you can see that it obviously starts to show this, and you can see the plus and the minus sign here, and you can actually expand 2011, and you can take a look at the categories and things like that. Now, a lot of people would want this in a classic layout style. That's what, if you have been traveling from Excel and you have landed into Power BI, you know what a classic layout which actually means that you want separate column for separate fields. So we have 2011, which is actually a year. I want separate column for that. And category should be placed in a separate column, and then total sales should be coming in the third column. How do you do that in Power BI? So you actually select the matrix, which is the pivot table of Power BI. You go to the visualizations, and over here in the format tab, you write the word step, STEP. Once you write the word step, it actually shows you the step layout, which is actually the sort of the classic layout for Power BI. So you have the step layout, which you can actually turn it off. And once the step layout is off, you actually get the layout that you actually want. So that's what it shows you. And obviously, if you want to have these plus minus button turned off, they're actually good. They actually help you expand or contract the pivot table. But in case you don't want to give the user the ability to contract the pivot table or collapse the pivot table, you can actually come here and write a plus sign here. So just write a plus sign, and you get these plus minus icons here, which you can actually turn them off, and they are off your pivot table. and your pivot table looks like this. There is another feature that I would like to talk about, which is actually right here, which is in the grid here. In the grid, there is a feature of padding, row padding, which actually means the spacing between the rows. A lot of people don't know about it, and I'd like to kind of pad my rows nicely and give them ample amount of space between one another, so that the numbers don't look clogged with one another. So that actually spaces out the pivot table, and the numbers are more legible to anybody who's reading them. And you can also increase the font size just in case you want. So from here in the grid again, right in here in the grid, you can just kind of go here and maybe increase the font size here. So right here, just increase the font size. So maybe I'll just make it 13 or something. All right, and this starts to become a lot more legible. All right. One thing that I'm kind of pissed off about Power BI is that you don't have the ability to maybe write anything in your custom font. I mean, I cannot use the fonts that I have installed on my laptop to write anything in Power BI. That's not good actually. And I also don't have the ability to draw anything on the screen. All that I can draw is triangles and rectangles and that kind of standard shapes, but I don't have the ability to draw anything on PowerPoint, like PowerPoint in Power BI. That's kind of sad. So there is a workaround, although, which is there in Power BI. So you can see that I have kind of laid out this screen in a slide format. You can see that it's like a slide. There's a little shade at the back here, which, you know, in case you want that, you can have that. And all of these visuals, and you can cross filter, and you can kind of call it as a slide format only. So how do you actually create this stuff in Power BI? So what you can do is, I actually kind of feel funny even telling you that, but yeah, that's the workaround that I have for you. So you can actually create that in PowerPoint. I mean, you can actually literally go to PowerPoint. So this is also 16 by 9. The size of your canvas here is 16 by 9, and the size of the slide here is also 16 by 9. So if you end up doing everything in the space of the white space of the slide here, it'll end up fitting right there inside your canvas of Power BI. So whatever you want to draw, you can actually draw it here. You can actually see that this is a text here, and I can pick up whatever font that I want to have. This is actually a shape here. I can just make whatever shape. In case you would like to add company logo, just kind of make some boxes right here. Just whatever, I mean, you would like to do, you know, just give your dashboard a little look and feel. You can just do that right here. And then once you have done that, you right click on this particular thing, which is actually a group of objects. And then you save this as a picture anywhere on your computer, and then you import that into Power BI. So that's what I have done. So if I actually come here, I can go to the home tab, and I can click on the image right here, and I can import the images from Power BI, and that's the image that I have actually imported into Power BI. So if I actually double click here, this image comes into Power BI. It's very small. I can actually make it larger here, and that's the image that I had here. So that's what I had it. And you can obviously kind of make the image go back and start making visuals on top of that. So in the format tab, you can just send it back, send to back, and you can make the visuals on top of that. All right, so that's what I have found. So actually I used this trick in one of my recent dashboards. I'd like to show it to you. It's pretty interesting actually. So here in the coronavirus dashboard that I created, so I wanted to write the word in a stylish format in the font that I like, which I use it sometimes in my graphics, and I was not able to do that. So hence I kind of wrote all of this stuff in my own layout, and I also kind of took a picture of somewhat virus looking like a thing, and I kind of built O's out of that, and I created this title, which is the only image that I have on the screen. And that's what I have. So it just gives you a little custom look and feel, and then you can attach it to your Power BI reports. Looks really, really cool. All right, that was my next tip actually. The other tip which I would like to share with you is actually this visual, which is actually top performing products visual. It's not actually a visual. It's actually like a DAX function that I have written, and that actually creates this particular visual. So maybe I'll just show it to you what this visual is. So let's just say, just hover on top of this. So here in this particular visual, it's not really a visual, it's actually a very simple table. It says 3 best performing products. It has the names of the 3 products, it has the sales of all these three products, and it has the total of all of these three numbers done it at the bottom right here. Now if you end up clicking on any of these kind of slicers or anything, this visual is actually going to update. So right now take a look at the total is about $13,000. If I actually take a look at the top three products of 2011, the number is definitely going to change. It was $6,800. So this is absolutely amazing. A lot of people have asked me, how did you do that? So this is pretty interesting actually. So maybe this involves a lot of DAX functions and writing a lot of that stuff. So I have it here, and you can actually take a look at the functions that I have written right here. So this is the function, the DAX code, which actually gives me the names of the products, so which is right here. And then I have another function which actually gives me the sales value, and then I have another little kind of function which actually creates a small little chart that is going to get refreshed automatically. So if I kind of get these two filters, so if I just copy these filters from the top and just to actually paste them right here, don't sync the filters, just paste them right here. And if you just take a look at how this works, so let me just zoom in. So take a look, if I actually click on 2012, even the charts will slightly change and give you an updated value. So this is pretty interesting actually. So I want to cover this with you briefly, if time permits. In the end, this is slightly technical, and this will actually give you a lot of value that you can actually give into your dashboard. So anybody clicks on anything, and then you can see the top three products by the month, by the category, by the quarter, by the year, by whatever, right? So this is pretty interesting. So I'll as of now move on to another tip, which is interactivity of slicers, and then I'll kind of maybe, if time permits, come back here and then maybe just take you through the top analytics visual. All right. A lot of people actually don't know about it, so maybe I'll just share. This is actually a very, very interesting tip. Take a look. So I have two slicers on the top. One is for the year, the other one is for the month. And you can see that all of these visuals are filtered by the month of 2012 and June. But if you take a look at the line chart here, the line chart actually shows me all the months here, right? It shows me all the months. It's not actually getting filtered by June. Even if I click on July, everything else gets filtered but the line chart. So there is an option in Power BI where you can turn off the interactivity between the two visuals, right? So how do I do that? Let me just kind of delete this particular thing and do it again, show it to you. So first of all, I create a line chart. So I create a line chart, keep it here on the screen. In the line chart, obviously I have a measure which is total sales. I just drop it right here. And where is my months? So I take the months, put it in the chart, comes up right here. And you can see that as of now, this chart, which is actually a line chart, is not really a line chart because it's showing you just one dot, because it's actually respecting the filter, taking that filter to the chart. If I click on September, this will change to September, and so on and so forth. We don't have actually data for September, so let's just click on January. So it shows you it shows you data for January, shows you data for February, March, so on and so forth. What I want to do in my dashboard is that I want to have a line chart that no matter that the user actually clicks on a particular month, I also want to show the sales of the entire year as to how the sales has been trending throughout the year, even though the person actually clicks on the line chart. So I would like to have that capability done. So what I will do is I will actually click on the slicer. That's my one. Then I go to the format tab and I have the option of edit interactions, which is where I can actually turn off the interactions to the line chart. So I can actually turn it off. You can see that it's none here. If you want to turn it back on again, you can click on the filter. It will start to filter. If you want to turn it off, you can actually turn it off from here, none. And once you do that, you can see that the line chart starts to appear and it shows you all the values right up till August. That's where we have the data until, and this is actually cool. And maybe I just go back to the format tab and close the edit interactions button. So I close that. And now, even if I actually click on April or May, the chart is going to stay still. But if the filter is coming from any other visual, that means if I end up clicking on premium, it is going to respect that filter. So that means that this line chart is belonging to the entire year for the premium category for 2012. That's what it means. Now, where all can you use this technique? So I believe that people who are just getting started with DAX, you can actually use this to your benefit. So I'll tell you how. So you can see that I have two cards here, right? So one, we have total sales, and the other one is total sales filtered. So this is actually showing you sales for the entire year, and this is actually showing you sales which are actually respecting all the filters, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll actually click on the slicer. Then I go to the format tab and I click on edit interactions, and you can see that I have actually turned off the interactivity between this month slicer and this little card right here. Now what this means is that whenever the user is actually going to click on any of the months, he will not only see the filtered sales of the month, but he will also end up seeing the total sales of the entire year for 2012 for premium category as well. It's still accepting filters from here. If you actually want to turn off the filter from here as well, you actually have to click on this chart, go to the format, edit interactions, and then turn off the interactions from here to here. So that's off, and this will actually show you the entire sales of 2012 now. The only filter it's currently working on with is the year filter. All right, so that's what you can end up doing. And even if you now click on any other thing here, this thing is going to get filtered and this thing is not going to get filtered. It's a quick way to kind of turn off filters from one to the other, and that this works absolutely fine. But just in case anybody ends up deleting this and maybe just placing it again, drawing it once again, this the interactivity that you turned off is going to be turned on again, and you will have to do the work once again. And that's why you kind of use DAX to turn it off in the measure so that it doesn't really come up once you drag that measure into the visual. All right, so let me just turn off that and turn off that. All right, let me now, I think it's still 5 minutes, so maybe I'll just quickly explain you the top analytics visual as to how did I create that. It's actually a part of my DAX course. It's actually also the part of my DAX course, and I have created a very exhaustive blog post and video series to actually explain the top analytics visual right here. So if you maybe just go to the blog, maybe I'll just show it to you real quick. So just say read my blog, and then if you just click here, come on, just go to the search tab on the top and write top product analysis in Power Pivot. That's what you write, and you will get an entire blog post that I have dedicated to this thing. And this is exactly doing the same thing that I'm just going to discuss now. There are also 4 videos. You can actually watch the video step by step, but here is what I'm just going to give you a quick explanation. You can just take a look at that later as well. So obviously there are 3 visuals here working, so 3 actually measures here working. So first of all, I want to get the names of the products. That's what I would like to get. Remember that the names of products is actually a text value. It's not a numerical value. So a sum account is not going to work. What you need is a function that actually delivers you a text, not a number. Hence, we are going to work with concatenate x. So I'm just going to come here and maybe show to you the calculation that I have here. So top product sales, I say that, hey, why don't you find 3 products from the products table in the order of total sales. And once you find these 3 products, you concatenate them. Now, once you concatenate the products are going to be stuck to one another. So one product and no space and no comma, and then the other product and the other product. So the delimiter that I'd like to provide is an enter, and hence I have written unicharacter 10. Unicharacter 10 actually means enter, right? It's the ASCII code for that. And then I say, hey, why don't you sort them in total sales? The order is going to be descending, and so on and so forth. And then you can see that after I write the concatenate x, I have also written a couple of other things at the bottom. And these other things are nothing but the total which I have actually generated here in the end. So I'm actually generating 3 products here, but I'm not concatenating them. I'm actually calculating total sales for that. And hence I kind of show the thing here, total sales value right here. Similarly, I write another measure to find the dollar sales here. It's again concatenate x. So let me just show it to you. So top values, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. So I'm going to say, hey, concatenate x once again, top 3 values. I'd like to concatenate total sales. press and enter. After each concatenation, the order is descending. And then I kind of make a little bar chart. This is amazing. And let me just show it to you that. So where is the bar chart? Right here. Again, I say, hey, concatenate X, concatenate 3 products. And then I say that, hey, why don't you maybe take the total sales and find the percentage over total sales, the total unfiltered sales, which is right here. So this is unfiltered sales, and this is actually filtered sales, which is coming to the row context. And once you find the percentage, you multiply that with 50. A percentage is a value which is actually less than 1. Maybe 16% is 0.6, 50% is 0.5. So I take that percentage value, the contribution of every single sales, and I multiply that with 50. And that is the number of times that I repeat the bar, the bar that gets repeated. So you can take a look at this measure. It's pretty interesting. If you actually understand this is just nothing but the formatting part of it, nothing too complicated. All right. Okay, one more tip before I kind of close and start asking, kind of taking your questions. I have personally found myself that I'd like to get a certain font color or maybe a box color into Power BI, and you know what, if I actually end up recoloring this box that I have made on the top, I go to the visualizations, I go to the background, and if I kind of do the color right here, if I kind of go to the custom color, I can make colors, but it will be better if I knew the hex code of it, right? And you can obviously know the hex code, that's totally okay, but you can also generate the hex code using PowerPoint, right? Let me just show you that. So let's just say that maybe I'm going to go to my blog, and you know what, I like this color, and this color is what I like. I'm just going to come back in PowerPoint and just going to paste that color. Now I'd like to know the hex code of this color. What I can do is I can actually make a box or a triangle, and I'd like to fill the triangle with this particular color. This is as of now a picture, right? This is not really a box or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the box, I'm going to go to the home tab, and I will click on the triangle, then I'll right click here, just see we have it here or not. Yes, so I'll right click on the triangle, and then I'll click on the fill option right here, and I have a tool called eyedropper. Once I click on the eyedropper, I can take my eyedropper wherever, and this is actually going to pick up the color that you're marking it on, and it will fill it up with this color. Now as of now, if you just go to the properties of this, so it is that shape format, and right here, go to more colors. So if you actually go to the properties of this, you can see that, oh, it just doesn't show it here. So you can see that it actually shows you the RGB combination here, but in case your PowerPoint is updated, it's actually going to show you the hex code also. That has been the recent update in PowerPoint. It actually shows up in my laptop, but I'm not doing the webinar on my laptop, so it doesn't show you here. So actually now the hex code also comes if you just update your PowerPoint. So you can actually copy the hex code from here, from right here, and then you can come back to Power BI, and you can just go to custom color and then just paste that hex code here. Once you paste the hex code here, it's going to appear everywhere in your Power BI. So let's say even if you want to change this font color, and you maybe just click here and you want to change something, you can actually come back here and just go to the font color, and then you can just start to see that color that you added into Power BI. So that's a pretty interesting way that I do it a lot. I mean, if I like any particular color somewhere, I actually use an eyedropper tool to get the color, get the hex code, and then generate it. If you still don't have the hex code appearing into your Power BI window, you can actually just take the RGB numbers there and just put it on the web, and it will give you the hex code for that, which you can actually use it in Power BI. Okay, that was a lot of speaking. I actually need some water. And I actually invite questions if you have any. So be more than happy to answer any questions. Please feel free. I'll just open up my chat window and ask. Actually, my mother says good. My mother is also here. They don't work in Power BI. I don't know why are they here, but it's good to have them. All right, folks, any questions? I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. So we have Kishan here. Maybe if you change, edit the interaction to the filter and not highlight title may also change. Kishan, I'm not sure. You can just test it out and let's just see if that works or not. If it does work, it's actually good. Great. How to highlight top 3 with one color. I'm not sure if you can do that. I'm really not sure. Actually, the thing that you write in the top 3 is just one measure, and I cannot start to highlight parts of the text in different colors using conditional formatting. So conditional formatting is going to be applicable to one part. So I can highlight the entire block, but not highlight the first product, the second product, and the third product. So yeah. Is filter the same as slicer in a pivot table? Yes, the filter is the same as slicer in a pivot table, but cross filtering is different. You can actually click on the chart and the other things actually get filtered. So I don't know if that answers your question. Any add-in you would suggest to learn DAX measures? Okay, maybe I'll just give you some thought about it. So the first thing that you have to understand is that there is a little thing called a new quick measure. This is actually sort of a tool or like a helper built by Microsoft, which actually starts to write measures for you, right? But this can be a little dangerous because if you don't understand what the measure is actually doing, you would not be able to edit those measures. But you can make a good start here, see if the measures are working. You'll although have to test your measures that this particular thing creates robustly across all your reports. Once this is fine, you can actually take a look at the code, go read it, and then hopefully you'll be able to start to create measures. But you'd have to learn the fundamentals of how actually DAX works to be able to write good measures in DAX. And you would not be able to write very sophisticated measures with the new quick measure tool that is there in Power BI already with you. I suggest that you take a look at the course that I have, which is a DAX course that I have. It's currently closed for enrollments for now, but it'll open once again. The link is down in the video at the bottom, so you can just take a look at that. Maybe register for that, just join the waiting list, and once it opens up, you can just take a look at that. If it interests you, please join that. Okay, Sachin says, how did I create a chart view in the pivot table? Sachin, the file, don't forget guys, the file is there underneath the video. Please go ahead and download that file, and you can just actually take a look at my measure. Although there is a full series of videos that I have done on top analytics, you can watch the videos one by one and you would be able to understand that what have I done, how have I done it. And also this stuff is actually possible in Excel Power Pivot as well, and that's the example that I have used, although here I have used Power BI instead. Is there a limitation of the rows of the data in Power BI? I don't know, how many rows are you actually talking about? I personally have worked up till, I believe, 40 odd million rows of data. That's what I have worked on personally. But if it kind of goes beyond like a lot of rows, maybe 100 million, 200 million rows, or even beyond that, then you can use something like aggregations in Power BI to aggregate your reports, and this can go up into billions of rows after that, and you can kind of get reports aggregated, like pre-calculate certain things based on aggregations and then show those things. So maybe you can just Google around that, but I have seen people working in billions of rows in Power BI. So Nitin says your DAX knowledge is great. How many scenarios have you covered in the DAX course? So I kind of start the DAX course into actually 3 parts. And I actually teach the DAX in a way that I personally learned it myself, and that was easy for me to understand because I was an Excel user. I was never a programmer. I've studied commerce in my life, I've studied finance, I've studied some marketing as well, but I've not studied any bit of computers. All that I was doing in my school was paintbrush. Now, coming to the DAX course, I've actually divided the DAX course into 3 parts. Part 1 is that you really need to understand the fundamentals of how things work when you start working with DAX. It's not like an F2 button in Excel. You press the F2 button, you see the formula open up, and then you kind of rewrite the formula or tweak the formula or do a plus minus anywhere here and there. The DAX actually works on filter context, and you really need to understand this concept really well in order for you to design more complicated calculations. That's what I cover first, the bare fundamentals of DAX. Once the fundamentals are covered, I talk about different cases, simple to complex cases that you can actually, there are practical cases in business that you can actually use and actually deploy in your reports. And those are obviously complicated cases, but if your fundamentals are clear, you will be able to understand those cases. Now, these are 2 parts. What you need as a third part is a continuation, like a continuous expansion of your knowledge, which is how you get it is by learning more and more DAX functions. So you kind of, rack up more and more functions in your mind and kind of expand your own library of understanding more and more DAX. So there's a third part of the course, which is where I cover a lot of these functions and how the core functionality of these functions work. So that's how I kind of designed the course, and I do answer a lot of questions as well for the people. I also have office hours, which is where I do these one-on-one sessions. Not one-on-one actually, we gather around and we kind of get all the people and we'll just do these sessions for all the people who join the course. Anything more than 10 million rows is great. So yeah, sure, that's nothing actually. That Power BI will be able to handle 10 million rows pretty easily. That's not a problem. Saurabh just added 1.5 crores yesterday. Was a bit slow, but it works fab. Saurabh, I will highly recommend that you go and check the cardinality of your data model, and it will work even faster. What that means is you go find out columns in your data set which have high uniqueness. That means, let's say a transaction ID. So if you have 1.5 crore rows of data, and if you have 1.5 crore transaction IDs, that's a unique item every single row. You don't want to have that unless you absolutely need that. So you remove items with high cardinality, and your model is going to be faster, both in terms of performance and calculations as well. Let's just see. Somebody asked me a question on shortcuts, shift enter to go to the next line. I've actually recorded a video on DAX shortcuts, so you can just take a look at that. There is not one, there are a couple of shortcuts that I have discussed in that video. Just go through all of them. They're pretty interesting, and you will find them very helpful in case you were writing a lot of DAX actually. All right, let's see if I have missed any question from the top. All right, Amit, the way I indent in DAX is by using shift enter, not alt enter. So there are 2 shortcuts to come to the next row. There is one as shift enter, there's another one as alt enter. Alt enter goes to the start of the row, start of the row at the first position. But if you press shift enter, it actually comes to the same indentation as the previous indented value, or the where you left it actually. All right. Darren asks, can a slicer be used to change the values used in the visual? For example, using a slicer to change. Darren, great question. I have actually written a very detailed blog post on this, and this is also something that I have also covered in the course. You can actually do that. So maybe I can just show it to you real quick. Maybe if you just want to kind of take a look right after the webinar ends. So here, if you just write in the search field on my blog, change pivot table calculation, that's the one, pivot table field calculations with the slicer. That's the post that I have written. and that's what you're asking. So based on the slicer, I get to choose what is going to go in my pivot table. And if you just go through this blog post, I have mentioned everything right here. These are the different DAX codes that I have used, and I've also explained how to do that in Power BI. So you can just watch this video if in case you would like. Also download the Power BI file in case you would like that. So that's a ready-made answer for you. All right. Let's just see if any more questions are there. Kanishk, I will highly recommend that you do all the ETL in Power Query till the time you limit your data. I mean, you don't start doing VLOOKUPs and doing calculations and percentages of total in Power Query till the time you can make the data clean in a transactional format, which is where you can have a star schema, maybe doing like one-to-many relationships between your tables. That's the ETL that I will highly recommend to carry it out in Power Query, and then just do all the calculations, all the relationships, and all of that work in DAX in Power BI. That way your model is going to be clean and it's going to be working fast as well. All right, folks. It's a little over 8:30. I'm still getting questions. I'll have to stop here, but I've actually opened up one course on Excel. It's kind of ironical that we're talking about Power BI and I've opened up a course on Excel. I'll open up the DAX course if you're interested. Once again, just go to the DAX course, which is actually mentioned in the link, and do join the joining list, and so that I can give you a shout out when I open the course once again in about a month or so. But for now, I have actually opened up an Excel program and an Excel dashboards program. These are two flagship programs that I've been running for quite a long time, and a lot of people have joined them and gained benefit from that. So in case you would like to learn Excel in a very comprehensive manner, please go ahead and take a look at that course. In case you would like to carry forward your knowledge from Excel and start building sophisticated dashboards in Excel using just Excel capabilities, just go take a look at that. There is also a coupon code mentioned at the bottom of the video, which is I think off 30 or 30 off, something like that. Just take a look at that. I don't remember. And if you just apply that on the checkout page, you will instantly get a 30% off on that thing. I'll probably make that course active for the next few days, probably till the end of the week. And if in case you want, you can certainly join that course. It's going to be very, very helpful for you guys. All right. And last thing, I certainly want more ideas on what kind of webinars can we do more often. Do you want me to do more of Excel webinars, or should I continue doing Power BI webinars? Just give me a shout out in the comments, and maybe I'll just plan the next webinar around the lines that you actually need. So I can do Excel, I can do Power BI, I can again do DAX. We've already done one DAX webinar. You can just take a look at that as well. I can even do Power Query. So just let me know in the comments, guys, and I'll kind of organize something on those lines once again. All right, that's it. Thank you so much, folks, for coming along. It's actually Saturday night in India. It's about 8:38 in India, and I actually go to bed pretty early. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. It's a great pleasure actually to be talking to you guys, interacting with you guys, although we are quite far apart. But yeah, it's actually a good thing to interact and kind of share the knowledge. Feel free to let me know in the comments as to what webinars do you want me to do in the future, and should they be on Excel tricks, like simple Excel tricks to make your work faster and just give you more efficiency in Excel? Should I do more of visualization? Should I do more of DAX, Power Query, whatever it is? Let me know. Folks, take care. Good night. Be safe. Stay at home. It's pretty tough times outside, and